So my trainer says, yeah, you're going to fight Tommy Rose. And I seen Tommy on TV, so I know who he was. He was at the gym one time, too, so I know what he looks like. And we had a saying growing up. Basically, again, we grew up in a tough area. We had a saying, hey, as long as he got 2 arms and 2 legs, he can go down. You know, that would later escalate, too. As long as they breathe air, they can go down. And so I'm thinking, you know, I'm listening to my trainer. I'm thinking about what he's saying. The wheels are turning. And I knew it was a pro fight, so I knew we were talking money. So I says, how much? He says, I'll give you a C note, $100. That was pretty much what I made all week long. So I said, yeah, I'll fight the guy. He says, you know, we're going to change your name, this and that. You just do a couple rounds. I'll tell you, yeah. I said, all right. Now, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, hey, I'm going to go and level this guy, man. I'm going to go and take this guy out, man. This is going to be my ticket out of the shoe factory. You know, I'm going to knock this guy out. I'm going to tell everybody my real name. I'm going to start making some money. So, and I got a level with Vinny. I mean, me and Vinny go back a long time. So I say, Vinny, look, Vinny, okay, I beat this guy? He said, yeah, Danny, you beat this guy. You know, he knew something I didn't. So anyway, I go in the ring the next night. I'm coming out of the dressing room, out of the locker room. I'm next to the last fight. We're going to do a scheduled 10-rounder. And Tommy's already in the ring. He's dancing around, and 15,000 people screaming, cheering, and this and that. And I get in the ring. I start loosening up. And then they introduce me, standing in this corner, weighing 135 pounds, boasting a record of 14-0 from Albany, New York, Danny Rivera! One person. That encouraged me. That really lifted me up. And so the bell rang, and we go toe-to-toe, and I know I'm not going to go 15 rounds. I get basically 2 minutes. I get 2 rounds, 6 minutes before I'm going to run out of gas. And so he just danced around and waited and then moved in for the kill. And I was up against the ropes out of gas, and it was bam, 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 bam. And the ref come in and said, okay, that's enough. You know, and I got my money, and I went home. And this happened a couple more times, and thank God this great light shined down on Mount Marblehead one day. And I got out. I hung him up, and I got out. And I went from, you know, barroom to barroom and shoe factory to shoe factory. And I was in this other bar down the village, and one day there was this new guy in the barroom. Big guy, Irish guy, about 250 pounds, 6'2" or so. And he's talking to Red, the bartender, down the other end of the bar. And I know they're talking about boxing. Because Red says, oh, yeah, fight? Yeah, Danny used to fight. And so he points down the other end of the bar, and here comes this 6'2", 265-pound Irishman. He goes walking down, he said, hey, you did some fighting. I said, yeah, I did a little fight. He said, what do you say, me and you right now? Now, I'm 147 at the time. I'm a welterweight, all right? So I kind of looked at him. I said, you're a little bit out of my weight class. And he smiled. He said, I like you, kid. He said, hey, Red, give us a couple here. So we hit off. We start talking. And he tells me about how he used to box, all this stuff. And he tells me that he's an iron worker. And so at that time, I'm driving a truck. I'm driving a truck at that time. And the next day, I'm going to an industrial park, picking up a load of ceramic tile. While I'm doing so, they're building a warehouse next door. And I see an iron worker, a guy walking on a beam about 30 feet in the air. It was only about 6 inches wide. He's got all these tools hanging down. He's walking on like he's on a sidewalk. And so I'm looking out of my truck window, and I'm watching this guy. And I go back to the bar that night. I see Sully. So I said, hey, is that what you do? He says, yeah, only I don't walk, I run. He's a really arrogant dude. And he says, and I don't do the barbershops, you know, the little one-stories. He says, I do the 40, 50-story buildings in Boston. And so I had to ask him, I said, well, what's the secret? I mean, this guy was walking on a beam. It couldn't have been more than 6 inches wide. And he was just walking across like it was a sidewalk. He said, Danny, all you got to do is look to the other side. Your feet will follow. He said, I'll tell you a secret. The faster you go, the less you have to balance. And he said, you want to give it a try? And I said, yeah, I want to give it a try. I mean, my dad told me that I could do anything that anyone else had ever done. So I always believed that. I still believe that. As long as the guy's got 2 arms and 2 legs, if he can do it, I can do it. So he makes a phone call. He gets me in the Iron Workers Union. So I go from $4 an hour, $4.50 an hour driving truck, to $20 an hour in the early 80s. And I started drinking with these iron workers. They drank like fish. And I started doing drugs with the younger guys. And I started doing this one drug that I always wanted to try, but I never had the money, and it was called cocaine. And at first I started sniffing it, and then one of my old boxing buddies, Bunny, said, "Danny, let me show you a trick." And he pulled out this little kit, and he showed me how to freebase it. Back then you couldn't buy rock, you had to cook it up yourself. And so he pulled out this little kit, he showed me how to cook up the coke and smoke it, and he said, "Now be careful, this will hook you. But losers don't listen. One ear, right out the other. Yeah, buddy, yeah." And sure enough, I get hooked on this stuff. And back then, now, this is the early 80s. I'm making $800 a week if I just work 40 hours. And if I go overtime, I'm making $1,500, $2,000 a week if I'm doing some big overtime. And here I am, every week, I'm giving all my money to the drug dealer and the bartender. And my life is going downhill fast. And I remember one day, Sully and I were at a job in Braintree. And we were hanging iron there, and I remember it started to rain. And usually when it rains, the iron workers go into the shanty, or the tool shed, and they kind of wait for the rain to blow over, go back out and get a day's pay in. At least that's what the reliable and responsible iron workers would do. The clowns that I hung around with, that would be a reason to say, "Hey, let's go drinking, let's hit the bar." So I left, me and Sully left. We went to one bar, had a couple. We went to another bar in Brockton and parked it, and we were there all day long. And right around 4 o'clock, the bartender said, "That's it! You're shut off." And I remember I started to walk out the back door because my car was like a mile away. I had met Sully at O'Brien's that day. My car's about a mile away. I go out the back door. It's still raining. It's pouring. And I walk about 50 feet. I'm getting soaking wet, and I realize this isn't going to work. So I go back in the bar, and I sit in this booth. It's like a pizza barroom place. And I'm sitting in this booth, drunk as can be, and I sit there for an hour and a half or so, and a friend walks in the back door, Dave. I said, "Dave!" And he said, "Yeah." Then I said, "Dave, can you give me a ride to my car?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "You all right?" I says, "Yeah, I'm all right." I honestly, truly believed I was okay, even though I was drunk as could be. And so somehow I convinced him to give me a ride to my car, and I got into my car, and I started driving home, and I'm going down this winding road, and there's this sharp bend in the road, and as I came around this sharp bend, the last thing I remember was I hit a wooden horse. I remember seeing this wooden horse in front of my car with a flashing light, and it just kind of popped out of nowhere, and before I could hit the brake, I already hit it, it broke, and I pulled over, and I found out after the fact that the water drain had clogged up on the street that night. This is about 6 o'clock at night. It is the end of February. It had already gotten dark around 4 in the afternoon. Actually, no, the sun never came out. It was raining all day. So it was dark, and I got out of my car, and all of a sudden there was like 20, 30 people yelling and screaming frantically. Again, what I found out later after the fact was the water department was there trying to unclog this drain, and the street was flooded. And so these people are yelling and screaming, and I don't even know what happened. I'm walking through the crowd, and as I look through the crowd, I see a man laying in the road. And there's another man kneeling down beside him. And as I walked over, I asked, "Is he all right?" And to this day, I don't remember what the guy said who was kneeling beside him. But I remembered seeing pieces of the wooden horse near him, and I said, Did he get hit by a piece of the wood?" And the man kneeling down looked up and he said, "No, you hit him." And I went into a state of shock because I didn't see this guy. And I didn't want to believe him. But I knew no one would be joking about this. And so shortly after, the police came and they threw me against the car, arrested me for driving to endanger. We went to the police station. They asked me to take a breathalyzer, which I took and flunked. They arrested me for driving under the influence. They gave me a dime. I called my parents, and they come and bailed me out.